So
would they be added by the end of the summer?
Yeah.
Or would it
Or
be?
the start of the summer.
You're looking at, there's no money even for 17 for traffic calming. We're into 18 already.
So in terms of there has to be a poll.
Yep.
You explain about how many people have to respond and what the rate has to be.
Yeah, so when we send out a poll, we need to get at least 50% of the people even just responding, saying yes or no, or even throwing it back saying I don't care, some kind of response. And then we need 60% of the people say they actually want it. So we're looking for more than just 50, we want 60% of the people saying, I've seen the plan and I support it.
How do you-
That's the way it moves forward.
how do you poll? Like, is it?
So the clerk's department sends out a poll. So for example, you and if there's somebody else in your house
Yeah.
who is on the voters list, you'll both get a poll. So you and your wife, for example,
Yeah.
when they say yes, I like it, and others say mine, I don't. But there's more than one vote per household. It's all the people who are registered in that house.
And do we go online to complete the poll?
No, it's a paper poll. So you'll get a paper, you'll check the box and mail it back.
Mail it back.
And can your team, once that happens, if and when it happens, can your team call around the households to tell
Oh,
people
sure.
that they
Yep.
got it?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
when it's due,
Yeah.
so we kinda get some
Yeah,
idea.
like
We could be
that's
knocking
more
on-
my
I was
thing.
just
Like
gonna
if
say
it was
that.
electronic, you
Door
could
to door.
Facebook it or yeah.
Well, that helps too. If you've got a few people in the
Yeah.
community that wanna get out and knock on doors and encourage people, I mean, we've certainly seen that in other
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah, quite often when we do the polls, or when clerks do the polls, they come back and we get 90% of people saying they want it, but 15% of the people responded, so it fails. Although there's a lot of people want it, people didn't take the time to mail it back. So it more often fails on the response rate than it does on whether people want it or not.
So you need to go door to door. Somebody should go door to door.
Just
It's an
yeah,
important issue.
if you
Like
get
your
it,
election.
remind your neighbor to send it in.
Get a few people to go door to door, what's the difference?
Yeah, we need to knock on the.
You know, I'll be honest, I've thrown
I've done it
tennis
many
balls
times.
at young punks speeding down the street. You know, my kids are out there and these guys
Yeah.
are just,
Dangerous,
yeah,
Racing.
I think eggs would be more effective.
yeah, I know, trust me, the
I have a
hose is
question.
next.
So on a more pragmatic, so I'm at the end of La Rose where I see some either some good acceleration or deceleration. Just how about basic having a police officer there
Yeah.
every blue moon to as a speed trap.
We have to
So
call it in, he
Before
said.
you arrived, I was saying that we bought a radar gun for the office, and I was out on Wincott. A gentleman had me come out, and
Uh-huh.
I was monitoring speeds one morning, and I
Yeah.
saw for myself how fast people were going.
Yeah.
We called 23 Division. A cop went out, and he did 3 visits there, and he nabbed all kinds of people.
Yeah.
So anyone can call in a 311, and it would be to 23 Division would come down and have to do it, and I'm happy to come out and do that with a constable.
Okay.
Generally, it's like I said, anybody can come out, can call 311, and we have on occasion, I don't know if we've requested the police to come out, but we certainly can do that.
We have. Usually those actually get generated through our office. So certainly I would recommend 311 will redirect you to 23 Division, but definitely call our office and or 23 Division directly. They have a big whiteboard in their traffic services office, and they essentially, whenever certain streets come in, they mark it up on their board, and that's how they set their priorities.
Yeah.
So we get constant calls about Wincott, so I always forward those along to our contact at 23. So the more we hear from you guys, of course, certainly we will absolutely.
So I'm on like I had that little corner there with Hampton Brook. I've lived there enough years. I still don't know the name of the street.
Right.
But I mean, the police could sit there and really,
Sure.
I think they
We need
make
them at
it.
our end too, at Royal York.
Yeah, like
because
fair on
they're-
Crest near Crest
Yeah,
Ridge.
on your
or-
way
yeah.
down and
Yeah.
our way
When
up.
they're on Russell, they're in Hampton Brook, they're more for the stop sign also.
Yeah, not for
Yeah.
the speed.
They're not, and they
yes.
always stop them in front of my house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, again, just a bit of presence.
Mhm.
Because I've been there 11 years, I honestly have not seen an
Can you
officer.
do it for La Rose
I
and
will
Summit Crest?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Both ways? On Hunting Ridge, actually, they just put up an electronic speed sign.
Yeah.
Is that something we could do sooner than next year, since we have to wait, for funding and all that sort of stuff?
I think it's been out in La Rose before, hasn't it?
Yes, I
No,
worked
but
with
this
Gloria
is-
on it. But
This
it,
is actually on a post and it's
Oh,
permanent
legit?
now.
Oh,
Is it still
permanent.
there?
Oh, no,
It's
no.
permanent, yeah. I
Oh, wait a
just
minute.
drove back there.
On Hunting Ridge?
I think we should.
On,
And I
okay.
think their was their speed reduced as well?
There was a speed reduce and then they put this pole with the
So-
sign on the top.
Yes.
Where are you thinking? Because there's one on, they've
think
only
towards
put
Kipling.
those. Huh?
Rathburn.
Well,
No,
on
it's not
Rathburn, in front of
I saw it
Rosewood.
on Rathburn this morning.
Yeah.
But on the street, when I'm going down the road, Summit Crest, I pass the library, I make a left on
Yeah,
my
it
first.
says you're going
and a
towards
right.
Kipling.
and then a right on the
There's
first street.
one there?
Yeah.
There's one there,
That
towards
was- Now-
Kipling,
Towards
yeah.
Are you sure it wasn't one of the mobile
No,
units?
it's not, it
it's
was,
on-
and now it's a pole with the thing on the top.
Yeah.
Maybe a president bought one.
No, it's a legit, like, it says your speed, every time I see it, I'm like, okay, I'm under 50, so,
Well,
okay.
I guess we have some permanent ones that we're purchasing. We have one in the ward, Rathburn,
Yeah.
Rosethorn as well.
That comes as a total surprise to me because the transportation department said that they were buying a few for the city, they were going only in school zones. We got on it and we said we want one for Rathburn or by Rosethorn, they installed them, but I don't know of any others,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so it's, is it Summit correct, no, or is it,
I think it is
Is
on
it
Hunter.
Stratford?
I don't know if it's still there though, but I have seen it.
It's there, I saw it this
You saw
morning,
it?
okay,
yeah.
all right, we'll
On
have
the
to
street
look.
that goes
Towards
to
Kipling.
Kipling, and then you go, same street, you go at Martin Grove, yeah.
Yeah, we have a portable unit and the police have a portable unit, but it's not a pole mounted, it's
No.
actually
It's
trailer.
a pole mounted,
Okay.
yeah. It
I've
does.
seen it, I'm not sure if it's, but if you saw
Yeah,
it still there.
yeah, I saw it too.
Yeah, I just
But
want.
that, if that could be an option for us
Yeah.
prior to that, I
We've-
would like something.
We've had it out before, and I'll see if we can get it on the list again
Okay.
in the meantime. I like your gentleman's comment who said about cars parked.
Yeah.
This is essentially what this is. If you can
Yeah.
imagine a car parked here, here, and here, that's the effect it's gonna
Yeah.
create. 3 cars parked in that chicaning motion, so that's what it better be a permanent
You
thing.
could still park your car?
No,
No.
you won't be able to park in this area. That's one of the negatives. You'll lose a couple parking
Ah, I see.
spaces. Right in here, that spot would be lost, because you have to create that chicane.
Right.
Either side you're fine, but in the chicaning area, you lose the parking.
Usually there's not a lot of cars, at least on my street, you know.
Yeah, there's not a lot
Very
of cars
So if
parked
we
here.
put curbs on the roads, then we can all park on the street and slow traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just repaved, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was, yeah.
actually.
The other thing is the planters, it's the responsibility of the homeowners to maintain them. So if you don't maintain it, they just become a pretty unattractive. So some streets, they do a really great job. We do the initial planting, the city does it, if you go with a planter, and then,
You got people who steal them.
so you don't have to, you can do it without it,
Doesn't
it's just
have
a
a lot.
solid, but without a planter, it's another option.
That proposal is okay, but the only problem is that, what happens with snow removal and
Yeah.
maintenance during the summer times and so forth, garbage, debris.
Yes, well, they're put out from the curb, so drainage is not an issue.
Okay,
The snow plows, the locations we haven't had any complaints about snow removal. We leave 6 meters, so there's enough room for the plow to get by.
in between each.
Yeah, so the point here, the pinch point, is always 6 meters. We can't go, a fire won't let us go any less than that.
Any other comments or
Do you know why they made the pavement markings yellow in the center on the roads?
There was some meetings many years ago, and they were looking, they put the edge lines in too, and I think
Yeah.
it was before my time, the manager had some meetings with the community, and they tried to do that to define the edge of the road, and try to give the effect of narrowing it. It didn't seem to work, the speed seemed to stay up there, but I think that was the attempt that was made.
That kinda gave it more of an urban look as opposed to the rural look that we've always had before, like years ago, you had also the, what do you call it, the gullies there as well, too,
Yeah.
right? And so, then when we did that reconstruction recently, a few years back, they got rid of it, the drains and so forth. But when they put in the lines, it just seemed more like an urban kind of feeling as opposed to a rural one. And that, for some reason, I don't know, to me, it just seems like it's people just travel faster and quicker on that. I don't know what it is, it's ecological or something.
It's a straight road, and the setbacks are wide. Their conditions are where people will speed because there's no side friction, they'll try to slow them down.
Well, the clear zone is,
Yeah, it's way back.
yeah.
So there's some plans back there, and we've just chosen some locations for these chicanes. They're not carved in stone, but they're locations where we don't have a manhole or a catch basin or a driveway, where we can put it out. So it's something you may wanna look at and see what you think, and go from there.
What about stop signs?
I think you'll be disappointed with stop signs, because people will run them, they'll roll through them.
Yeah.
If if you put too many stop signs, and the one at Russell probably works fairly well in that it's a four-way, at LaRose anyways. But once you start putting a number of stop signs, especially at T intersections, motorists tend to get just frustrated with it and they will just roll through it. And then, so we find they don't work that well, the overall speed reduction.
I did notice that, at least between Islington and Russell, there were two chicanes. What makes you judge, you know, 2 versus 3? My first gut feel is not quite enough, but I don't know if I'm right or wrong on that. Like, how do you figure out how many per kilometer, if you will?
Yeah, it's kind of, we actually don't have a set standard for chicanes. For speed humps, we do. It's every 60 to 90 meters. But for chicanes, it's often where we can fit them. We're actually fortunate. These streets are fairly easy. Some of the downtown streets, like you see in this picture, it's horrible trying to find the spots for these things. So this one's fairly easy, so we have a bit more flexibility. But sometimes the driveways will affect. You can't obviously put them in front of somebody's driveway.
Yeah, no, fair.
So where would speed bumps go?
Where would they?
Yeah.
If we go there? As I say, every 60 to 90 meters. So we've kind of quickly spotted where
Are
they
they
would
on
go.
that?
No, they're not on that map. If that's where the community wanted us to take it, we would prepare a plan showing where they go.
Just generally, how do people feel? Would they prefer speed bumps, or would they like the look of the chicanes, or?
Nothing.
Or
What's
not.
that?
Nothing.
Nothing, okay.
I think enforcement is the key here. I
Right.
think putting up those signs telling you how fast you're going, and also, after that, also putting up a police
That's not,
presence.
But we pay a
You
cop
hear it
$100,000 a
too,
year.
so
We're not gonna have them give out
that's-
tickets.
Well, so in regard to police, they, like I said, they'll come out when
On
you
request,
request it.
which
but
I
then-
think we'll
but-
do.
But you'd have to be requesting them all the time.
Yeah.
I think that the province is probably going to go to some sort of photo radar. I mean, there's a lot of talk, but you know the way these things happen, they can talk about it could take 5 years or 6 years. So what we want to do is I would like to have a larger meeting of the community, and we'll talk about whether or not people want speed bumps. Some people don't want speed bumps. It doesn't have to be acrimonious, you don't get emotional about it. We just have to decide what we want to do, and we'll go with a poll on either chicanes or speed humps. People can respond the way that they feel best, and we'll take it from there. We might have speed humps on one road or chicanes on the other, or we may have nothing. As Bruce said, if we don't get a 50% response rate, then nothing happens. So, and people not responding means it doesn't matter to them, and they probably would rather see nothing. Okay?
Or they don't speak the language. There's a lot of older, families, unfortunately.
So with all of those planters are going right outside the houses of Italians, because we know
Yeah.
the one thing that I noticed,
mother- yeah.
one thing that I noticed when I was knocking on doors, boy, do they look after their properties.
Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Okay.
Do you find some people are, opposed to having those in front of their properties though?
Yeah.
Chicanes or speed humps?
Chicanes.
You know what? There's not a lot of chicanes in the city. Speed humps are all over the place. This is something a little different, but no, I actually haven't. The places we've had complaints is where parking's at a premium, and suddenly somebody's losing the spot in front of their house. But LaRose and Summercrest is not as big an issue as downtown. So no, we haven't. I had a complaint from one gentleman backing out of his driveway here, that it was right behind him and he had difficulty, and so we adjusted it a bit. That's about the only problems we've had.
Has anybody suggested or proposed, signalized intersection, or is it signalized, at the end of the road, at the west end? Or is that too close proximity to Eglinton, going?
Well, I guess at Royal York, they're both signalized, Eglinton,
Yeah.
LaRose, Summitcrest.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's a spacing issue. I can't actually, I don't know, we may have looked at it before, I just don't remember off the top of my head, if it's warranted or not.
Signalized intersections there's positives and negatives. So if you look at, there's a, where is it, in some cases they're put up and people try to beat the light, you know? They try to beat the light, and we heard this tonight, they wanna get, because they know if they're coming along the roadway and they're coming up to a major roadway, that the wait is longer. So that's when people speed up.
Signalize when it counts down?
No, I'm just saying if you have a stop sign, sometimes a stop sign is better than
Oh, I
a
see.
signalized.
If you poll, will it be, on LaRose and LaRose and Summit Crest only, like it's the people on the street, or like how wide or narrow
Yeah.
is the poll?
Normally it's frontage and flankage of the road. The only exception, and I don't know if this will be the case here, if there's a street that is unavoidable, now, see, all these streets have access out, so normally we would just do the two streets.
Okay.
Sometimes if there's a small court here, for example, we would pull them, but normally it's just frontage and flankage of the two streets.
Well, it's good for us to know, cause if this goes out, you're, to your point of getting the message out,
It
you know,
helps,
where to
yeah.
focus, right?
So would you do, Watling and Russell or not?
No,
No,
no.
even though they go between the two?
The only time we would ever do it if it was a small court and they were forced onto one street. It's a little different in that you have to take one of the streets, but in this case, I think if you were to poll everybody, to your point, you would get people on these other streets that probably don't care that much and
Yeah.
they wouldn't respond.
Right.
So typically in this situation, we would just do the frontage and flankages.
Although the speeding affects them, but it doesn't, they don't have to, it's not flying right by their house all the time.
And that's part two, is they maybe the opposite, it's not their street, so they'll say we don't want it, and they'll,
And then they just add to the
Yeah.
number of people in the
Yeah.
post. Is there something, instead of going up like the speed bumps, creating like a sort of a divot, not too deep, but something that would stop?
yeah,
And once you,
they don't do that public roads, yeah, it's a problem.
yeah, okay,
We have
for
those
free,
naturally.
it's a pothole.
I've seen them on private property, we don't do them because of drainage and they freeze up, so you create a
Oh,
little,
right.
so we don't do them on public roads. We do raised intersections, but, and then stop signs, but those are only when the roads are reconstructed that we do that, because they're hugely expensive.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be, since LaRose was just done, that wouldn't be a candidate.
But that wouldn't solve the problem on the roads anyway, a raised
just-
intersection.
It's just for stop compliance, you know.
Okay.
The issue is that Russell is a good distance in between Islington and Royal York, and they have a straightaway.
Yeah.
frankly.
Exactly.
Isn't there a pushback from the fire department with respect to the speed bumps though, because of time?
Yeah, before you got here, we did mention that. The plan we presented them, they've said as long as you have 6 meters, we're okay with it. Fire department is the most vocal, who generally don't like speed humps. They sometimes, and they don't like them anywhere, so it's not unique to this street, but, this is one that they're okay with, the chicane option.
How are the plows with speed bumps? Snow plows?
Yes, they seem to manage, they're all over, and the plows seem to, they're gentle enough, they're a hump, they're not a real bump, so they come up and over them.
Are the chicanes precast or are they formed on site?
Yeah, we used to use the precast ones, but the latest ones we put in are formed in site and then interlocking bricks in the middle, so the outside form, interlocking brick with a concrete planter on top.
So is it adjustable? Is it movable?
No, it's board in place, so it's,
Regardless of the outcome or the resolution, what's the time frame to have whatever work's decided done?
So say after the April meeting, we have clear direction that we wanna go with traffic calming, I have to write a report to community council to authorize the poll. The poll is 30 days, so that would probably happen. Actually, we're probably might even be into the summer or even just after the summer. And then if I got positive saying everybody wanted this, and I knew that in say October, we might get them in for 2018.
Can you
But-
put us on a forecasted list, like a priority list that?
Yeah, this is happening all through the
Saves.
city, so it's, and I don't know the results, it might be negative. The only thing about chicanes, they are much more expensive than speed humps, so they'll take up more of the budget, but, it's still a valid traffic calming, but they are more expensive than speed humps.
They'll find the money.
Our taxes keep going up. Our taxes keep going up.
Yeah, the citywide budget is about 300,000 for speed humps citywide, or for traffic calming citywide.
That's it?
So we used it all up in 15, 16, and it looks like we're used up in 17 too.
So there's no financial impact on the street that they're going into, like there's not a surcharge on taxes or anything? It's a great idea. No, it's not.
Question for you, just as another thought, I know you're talking about voting, but let's think ahead here when the LRT, comes down Eglinton to our side of town. I have an aunt who couple lands who lived on St. Clair when they did the St. Clair right away, and like anyone who used to be on St. Clair went on those side streets, and I think the city found well, obviously just through volume, found a different thing. Like I'm just concerned that if we don't get a vote, like would that be our next natural window when whoever says good news, it's coming down the street and there's 10 bazillion people who will not be in Eglinton.
I'm glad
but-
you raised the LRT, cause
Yeah.
I get an opportunity to talk about the LRT usually at meetings where we're talking about developments. So, the LRT was originally going to be funded from the Eglinton Crosstown, the terminus at Black Creek.
Mm.
It was originally going to be funded by the provincial government and carried all the way through to what they call the Redforth Gateway, out by the Mississauga Corporate Center, which is just north of Centennial Park.
Right.
And the province has quietly, completely pulled out of all of the funding for that project. So Stephen Del Duca and Yvonne Baker had a big meeting at Martin Grove Collegiate months ago, last year. And Del Duca said they're going to come back with more consultation. But in the latest iteration of what's going to happen with Smart Track, it was made clear that the province is going to provide money for Smart Track, which is basically more frequent GO service in the urban setting. GO, as we know, is sort of urban. We call it RER, which is Regional Express Rail. But Smart Track is really a version of that for inside Toronto. That's where the money's going to go. So there is no funding for the LRT. And what I pointed out at council, I got Jennifer Keesmaat to acknowledge it, and I tried to put a stop even to the planning of the LRT because, quite frankly, the city has more transit priorities than Eglinton. Although we see it as being congested, there are many more worse spots. So they're going to build a Finch West LRT, they're going to build a Shepherd East LRT, they're talking about an Eglinton East LRT to the University of Toronto campus in Scarborough. And anybody that's gone along the lakeshore knows how bad it is down in our lakeshore, down by Park Lawn and Lakeshore and Marine Parade Drive and all that. Though they really need to figure that out. So the staff is doing what's called a waterfront reset, and money will go there. So there's all these other priorities that will take precedent over Eglinton. And yet the planning still continues. We'll be coming back with a consultation in the fall to let people know. But in terms of the LRT impact on this neighborhood, quite honestly, it could be 2 decades away. So there you know.
For this guy.
Well, I told some lady, they're gonna build a seniors residence over by the Richview Plaza. I said, I'll be in the residence to watch the first car go by. So, I mean, it really will be, it's a long way away. So, we're not gonna see that impact on it.
Okay, well, in a way then I go, okay, then let's get back to knocking on doors, I guess, in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
They could stop that forever if they would only look at the increased ridership on the TTC by building that thing versus the cost of running buses.
Yeah.
I mean, $1 gazillion to add 20,000 riders.
Yeah, anyhow, with that LRT will not have an impact on your neighborhood for quite some time.
Okay.
Okay. So if you wanna have a look, the plan is over there, we can put the rest of the lights up, and then we'll send out a recap of this meeting, we have your email address, we'll send it out to everyone, and we'll plan another meeting for early April. The sooner the better, cause I would like to get people, now, do you think a Saturday morning would be good?
Either one's fine.
Yeah, I think it's better.
Is that better?
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do a Saturday morning here from, at 10 o'clock in the morning or something, all right? Okay, we'll do that. Okay, thank you all for coming.
If you guys wanna grab water, juice, please feel free, and if we didn't get a chance to have you sign in at the front and you'd like to receive our emails, please make sure you do. And you can grab a pen on the way